This man named Hal, and Hal lived in Australia. Now, he said him and his buddy had always planned this trip that they would cross from one side of Australia over to the other and make their way through the outback. Now, they set off on their trip in this Jeep and they start driving. They had got pretty deep into the outback to where there wasn't any, signs of civilization, and they were pretty much alone at this point. As they're driving down this dirt road, they said, they started to come into a more hilly area. There were trees and, brush everywhere and these rocky formations. And he said this area resembled what he could only describe as Utah in America. And he said, it was just very beautiful and scenic. And as they're driving down this dirt road, he said all of a sudden the Jeep falls into like some kind of hole and the tire gets stuck and it starts spinning out. So him and his friend, they get out of the Jeep and they're kind of like, what in the world, like, did we fall into? Like some kind of like hole in the ground. And when they look at it closer, they're like, wait a second, like that kind of looks like a very large footprint. But like what could make a footprint, as big as that a car would actually fall into? So they begin trying to push the car and rock it out of this hole. As they're rocking this thing, all of a sudden they feel like vibrations coming from the ground. And they could hear like a very loud movement through the trees. And out of the tree line, across the road, right, steps this 15 to 20 foot tall, what they described as a giant. And they said, it had very pale white skin. It had a very long head with kind of slanted in black eyes. It had sharp teeth. It had what looked like 3 fingers and 3 toes. And they said this thing, just was swinging its arms and walks across the road into another set of forest. And they both, instantly were like panicked, and they start pushing the Jeep as fast as they can to try and get it out of there. Finally, they get it out of the hole and they jump in the Jeep and they take off and they start driving. As they're driving, they hear a very loud scream. And they said it was so loud that it like vibrated the windows on this Jeep. And they could hear something very loudly moving and crashing through the forest. So they started going as fast as the Jeep would allow them. And eventually they made it out of that area. And they said they could only describe as what they encountered as being a giant.